Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with the Wrestling Recap for you today, and I'm talking about AEW Full Gear. Yes, I know this is 4 days late, but I didn't get a chance to see it on Saturday night. Caught the show late, so I'm going to review it late. Dynamite, it's Wednesday right now, Wednesday afternoon, so Dynamite hasn't happened yet, so I went to this show spoiler free. So, it was brand new, it was live for me, damn it. This is the second annual AEW Full Gear, once again live from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, but now with an attendance of over 1,000 people. 4-digit attendance there. Biggest crowd for wrestling shows since the pandemic started, and they were just rowdy. You tell these people were in a good mood, they wanted to see some wrestling, they wanted to forget about the fucking pandemic and the fucking nonsense, everything else that's going on right now in the world, especially our country. At least the shit we have to deal with here is bad enough, Don't have time to worry about everyone else yet. So, this was a good show, but much like All Out, I thought it was way long. A little long in the tooth when it got to the point where I was ready for the show to be over. You know what I mean? Opening match is our number one contender tournament finals with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. At the last pay-per-view, these two lost the tag team championships. They've kind of fallen out. Even though the Elite is still a thing, the five guys are kind of all on the outs with each other right now, except for the Bucks, the brothers, A lot of people complained about this going into it, saying it's just so obvious that the Young Bucks, that Omega and Page was going to be the tournament finals. But, just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's not good storytelling. In Lord of the Rings, were you ever in any doubt that Frodo was going to destroy the fucking ring? Of course not. And you still watched all three 3-hour movies because it's worth it. It's the journey. It's the story. And sometimes obvious storytelling is the way to go. And this was one of those. I was surprised at the start of the show. This was a good, lengthy match. And even though these guys, this is really getting more and more personal, it never seemed to quite explode and boil over. Still a simmering rivalry between these. So I won't be a bit surprised if there's future brawls between them. Great stuff. You can tell at the hint of personal because there's a lot of hard shots while fighting on the floor. Paige goes for the Buckeye pile driver on the floor. Or is it the Deadeye pile driver on the floor? Calls the Buckeye his flipping clothesline thing. There's a lot of back and forth. It goes for the Deadeye thing again, and Kenny reverses it into the One-Winged Angel, the most complicated, convoluted finisher in wrestling history, and gets a 3 count and become number one contender. Good match, enjoyed it. They gave it plenty of time. The guys really built up and told a good story. This simmering how right now it's still all business, but there's certainly undealt with personal shit between these two dudes that has not quite got there yet. Next up is our comedy match. Orange Cassidy taking on John Silver. John Silver's been really impressive, a very explosive young guy. He's a little guy, but he's very muscular and very, powerful. Reminds me a lot of Mike Mondo. Mike Mondo. Yeah, Mondo. Easy for you to say. Anyhow, I enjoyed it. Excuse me, got hiccups all of a sudden. Great time to get them. Enjoy this match a lot. Very funny. I love how the bad guys like don't do it with the kicks to the sheds, the hands in the pockets. I love when he gets Orange down and just rips the pockets out of his pants. That was funny as hell. Eventually the match does get more athletic and more competitive and less funny. Because I would rather them try to stick to as much humor as still the fighting stuff. John Silver's not like fighting Pac or Chris Jericho. Now that he's not a good wrestler, he is a good wrestler. But they could have gone full funny with this. I would like to have seen that. Anyhow, the finish comes with he hits basically the Deadeye pile driver, which we saw like twice in the last match, and Orange hits his own variation of it in this to win. A weird choice for a finish, I thought, especially considering the match is placed on the card. But yeah, a fun comedy match, even though it's AEW. I get it. They want to go all out and give people their money's worth for the pay-per-views, but damn, not every match has to go 10, 15, 20, and in one case, it's 30 minutes long. But next up, TNT Championship. Darby Allin challenges the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, now using his actual goddamn name. So he's finally Cody Rhodes now in AEW. He comes out with the entire Nightmare family. It's a competitive match. He's very, kind of, at first, very, underestimating Darby. And, he starts doing push-ups and stuff like that in the middle while Darby's down. And Arn Anderson yells at him, what the hell are you doing? Focus up. The man's down. Pin him. This kind of stuff. He hits a coffin drop. Darby hits a coffin drop. Cody kicks out. That was surprising. Darby gets from a sleeper. Cody climbs up to the second rope and just falls flat on his back on him, just crushes Darby. That was breathtaking. There's a series of counter, roll up, counter, roll up, counter, roll up, counter. But instead of going stalemate, Darby hooks him. He catches him and pins Cody Rhodes, and Darby Allin is the new TNT heavyweight champion. And hell, man, good for him. Not only for winning such a high profile championships that's on primetime cable every week. Not just for winning something like that at such a young age, but this is the first male singles champion in AEW that's not a Titan Tower refugee. It was after the match. Cody stops the music, takes a knee, hands him the belt, at which point Team Taz jumped the two of them. And this was weird to me. Just not 5 minutes ago, Cody Rhodes had come down there with like an entourage of like his closest friends and family. Who the hell is going to jump you in front of stuff like that? No matter, just think of it as a personal level. You're like at a family barbecue. Somebody just walks up and starts slapping around everybody's favorite family member. I don't care if your family are fucking Quakers. That guy's getting his ass kicked that day. You know what I mean? But yeah, Brian Cage, first they beat up Cody Rhodes. They beat up Darby Allin. They drag him all through the crowd. Take him through the crowd. Throw him through this little miniature set piece here. This screen is basically just here so they could throw Darby Allin to it. They take him to his cool truck that he drove to the ring for the match and smash him through his windshield. About to bust him up some more until finally Mike Hodge comes out with a steel chair and runs off Team Taz. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. It kind of seems like it's unfair, this huge moment for Darby Allin, and then he gets beaten down like this. But considering the kind of guy Darby Allin is, he probably insists on taking bumps like this for such a big night. It wouldn't feel right to his character. Next up is a women's championship match. Nyla Rose challenges Shida. This is a rematch from Double or Nothing in May. And this was the popcorn match for me, man. Serena's NWA women's title defense on the pre-show was way better than this match was. This match, even though they used weapons and they fought around all out the side and shit like that, they explored their space. This match just felt like it didn't have any of the heat their match at Double or Nothing had, which had a street fight stipulation and the underdog thing. But with Shida already beating her and no escalation to the storyline, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. Eventually, Shida wins with her running knee and retains the women's title. After the match, Vicky Guerrero's screaming at Nyla Rose, putting her down, and slaps her. And it looks like, crowd's buzzing. I think Nyla was about to beat the shit out of Vicky and turn babyface. But then she just hangs her head submissively and follows Vicky Guerrero. That's the most interesting thing, that little post-match angle. This showing this power Vicky Guerrero has over Nyla Rose. Where is this going? This was intriguing. Aside from that, I didn't talk about this at the other shows she was on, but I'm going to talk about it here. Nyla Rose is a transgendered woman. Everyone knows that. And there's been comparisons to this, them making her the champion, to the actual controversy going on in women's sports right now with transgender. And you go on to the biological makeup, it's not, don't care. I mean, no one's saying you can't have your identity, you can't have your gender, but, these divisions are separated by sets by gender or whatever because of the physical different bone mass and density. It's the same reason in boxing you're not going to see a 260-pound boxer go one-on-one with a guy who's 220. I mean 120. You know what I mean? That's because they are the same. They're the same species, but they're not the same physically. One guy's just bigger, powerful, strong, more powerful, stronger than the other one. Even if the little guy is a tough little fucker and could possibly overcome the odds, it's not a fair fight that you would want to actually push in a real competitive world because you don't want people to get killed out there. But to compare what Nyla Rose to that is not fair. I don't think wrestling is a stage sport. Everybody's about playing characters and being something you're not. And the fact that AEW has not used Nyla's personal biological history to help her in order to try to get her over and get her heat is a rare show of class in the world of pro wrestling. So good for them. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Up next is the tag team title match, or basically, you can also call it a half of the show. The Young Bucks challenging FTR for the tag titles, with the Young Bucks kind of playing. It seems like most of the Elite right now are almost like in this tweener position. They're face or heel depending on who they're fighting this week, kind of thing. Because Cody Rhodes definitely wrestled like a heel. Kenny Omega wrestled like a heel. The Young Bucks have been acting heel, even going as far as super kicking Tony Schiavone, which is what's wrong with you. It's like sucker punching your dad. But they finally won the title shot, and here they are, and they're so determined they're not going to do this over and over again forever. This is it. If they don't win the titles tonight, they're not challenging again. The same thing Cody did last year and failed. I thought this match was, even though it's a little longer than a match with Hangman and Omega at the last show, I thought this was a better match. Basically because, Hangman and Kenny are already, dynamic because they're so different. But with both the Young Bucks and FTR being both individually uniform teams, but so different against each other. Far more compelling match. I love the story of Matt's ankle injury, just going out through the hole. Never stop selling the ankle. Like I said, there's just too much to mention. Tully Blanchard gets banned from ringside, and they fight for a solid 30 minutes. The finish comes where they're trying to. Matt gets his boot taken off to expose the injured ankle. Hits a super kick out of nowhere with the bare foot. And pins him. I think it was Wilder. I can never tell which one is which as far as who has what name. You know what I mean? Why can't you just be... I don't know. It's like both in AEW and WWE, they had just felt like they had just such generic white bread names, gave them no personality individually. I don't know which one's Dawson, which one's Wilder, which one's whatever. The bald guy and the guy with hair. They're a great tag team, but I've always struggled with their names. Other than that, great match. Great match. Probably the best match of the night. Up next was the Elite Deletion match. And I hope this is the last of the cinematic matches. With the live crowd there, kind of sucks we had to watch one of these. But it was a fun match, had some really insane shit. It's all on the Hardy compound. So, first Sami Guevara's talking shit to the little fucking drone guard thing. And then his golf cart gets run over by Matt Hardy in a monster truck. And then they start fighting. Like, Sami Zayn happened to know where Matt Hardy was hiding his trash can of weapons on his own monster truck. And starts beating him. Ref comes out of nowhere. Just comes out of nowhere, says ring the bell, start the match, and starts counting, making near falls in the dirt. It was funny as hell. They eventually fight to a fucking ring. There's a ring there. Why not? And Ortiz and Santana, from the also Inner Circle members, of course, attack. Interfere. And pretty soon, Private Party, his Padawans, Hardy's Padawans, they come in. Even the odds. fucking Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara's fight to like a lake side thing. And there's Gangrel holding, I haven't seen him in years, I know he was alive, holding the Hurricane hostage. The Hurricane, they get loose, they start fighting a Hurricane, and Sammy start fighting, Sammy throws Hurricane into the water. And then just like a few seconds later, Gregory Helms, Ace Reporter, walks up. What? totally not the Hurricane. What's up with that? Kind of a mid-match interview with Sammy Guevara, so Sammy Guevara throws Helms into the drink. They fight back to the ring where Hurricane pops up, perfectly dry again. All 8 guys are fighting here. Remember, this was still one-on-one match. Then fucking Guevara and Hardy pull out the damn Roman candles, those goddamn projectile fireworks, and start charging at each other with them. Holy shit. They eventually isolate themselves to a garage where it goes pure fucking Hardy Boys. Sammy sets up a huge ladder. He's like scratching his top of his head on the ceiling of the garage. Dives off the ladder. Swanton on Matt Hardy through the table. What's his name? Hardy fucking undoes the ring rope, strangling Matt Hardy with it. It gets real kind of uncomfortable. It goes from really wacky to hard to watch pretty damn soon here. Eventually, Matt Hardy spears Sammy off the ring, off the apron, through 2 tables. Sammy's bleeding from the back of the head, kayfabe I hope. Matt Hardy hits a concerto and finally, mercifully, pins Sammy to end this. What started as fun but got pure horror movie kind of shit by the end of it. It was crazy. It was really fucking weird match. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Up next is in the semi-main event. It's Chris Jericho versus MJF. Oh my god. Okay, so the whole deal here is that MJF has kind of been pussyfooting around whether or not he wants to be in the inner circle for many months. Now he's made it confirmed he wants to be in the inner circle. Other members don't want him in there. Chris Jericho kind of really likes MJF, so it makes a deal that we're going to have a match. If you can beat me, you're in. The fucking segments they've been doing have been great. I don't care what anybody says, but the Dinner Debonair thing, the full-blown Frank Sinatra-style musical number in the middle of a wrestling show, only Chris Jericho could have pulled that off. It was brilliant. It was great. They have a good match here. And what's so great about this is Chris Jericho is like the greatest wrestler still wrestling. I mean, you add up his accolades, his years in the business, the list of guys he's beaten, the list of places he's worked. He is the guy. He is the guy in pro wrestling right now, and that's just all there is to it. But he's a natural heel. He's a born heel, and he should never be official babyface ever again. So, putting him in the storyline with MJF gave us this chance for the crowd to just love Chris Jericho. And it was great. It's a fun match. All the guys pull out big hit numbers, hit moves. Finish comes, Jericho's going to hit him with a pipe or the ring or something that Jack Swagger or Hager throws him. And he pulls an Eddie Guerrero. Flops down like he's been knocked out. The referee sees it, gets the weapon away from Chris. MJF rolls him up with the most devastating finishing move of modern wrestling, the Schoolboy, and gets the win. After the match, man of his word, shakes his hand, invites him and his henchman Wardlow into the inner circle, and the faction has just grown stronger, even though there is already dissension amongst, Wardlow, Swagger don't get along, MJF and Sammy don't get along, that kind of stuff. Main event time. I Quit match for the AEW World Championship, Dean Ambrose versus Eddie Kingston. This match had a lot of great promos. Eddie Kingston was great on the mic. Ambrose has always been too. But the match was just, after the Elite Deletion match, which already got kind of uncomfortable at the end, and now this match, which is nothing but uncomfortable, I was just ready for the show to end. The wrestling got a little too violent. Let's go back to Orange Cassidy, fighting a guy with his hands in his pockets. But yeah, that's what's great about AEW. It shows the variety of pro wrestling. Something for everyone on the show, and they got hardcore with this main event. They fight on They fight all around the damn stage, all around ringside. They use weapons out the ass. The finish comes where he gets the damn that captain's hook, fish hook thing, barbed wire wrapped around his arm, locks it on Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston still finally gargles through his own blood and says, "I quit." Yeah, it's a good match, but it was not fun to watch. And that was AEW. I do think the show went too long, and even though he's having solid matches, having great promos, he's not really building any long-term programs, having any memorable rivalries with guys. All these little micro feuds ever since Moxley became the champion. I mean, he feuded with Chris Jericho for a month, feuded with Brody Lee for a month, feuded with Jake Hagar and Vance Archer and MJF, and now Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is the only guy since he's been champion that actually fought twice. Yeah, it's a great show. Actually, it's probably the best fucking wrestling show of the year, man. It had a super positive vibe. Everybody's had a story. Everybody had a purpose. None of the matches felt like they were rinse and repeat of something you saw earlier in the night. Everything was its own little showcase. So, yeah, even though I didn't care less about the women's match, I think a couple matches went too long. Yeah, great show. Absolutely great show. Couldn't recommend it any higher, and so happy I watched it. And so glad I actually sat down and review it, even though it was many, many days late. Anyhow, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I am Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.